Preetha Reddy is the Executive Vice Chairperson of the Apollo Hospitals Group. She is widely recognized for her contributions in making high-quality healthcare accessible to millions. And when you say millions in India, that is meaning something. Millions, and her support to various entities and industrial bodies. She has continuously worked for the betterment of India. Dr. Reddy works closely with the organization's 9,000 clinicians, and she introduces contemporary protocols to enhance the clinical outcomes. Dr. Reddy also works with industrial bodies and the government of India to advance the policy decisions on healthcare. She was a founding member of the Quality Council of India. In recognition of Apollo delivering outstanding medical care during COVID-19, which, as we all know, is a very difficult endeavor. And again, thanks go out to all of our PTCOG community for all of the work that they did. But in that recognition, Preetha Reddy was awarded the Economic Times Businesswoman of the Year in 2021. She's also the recipient of many other awards. So we're privileged to hear her speak, and we welcome her to PTCOG and look forward to hearing her perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. It's good seeing you virtually, and I'm looking forward to a time when you're all back in India, every member of PTCOG. Having said that, the pandemic has been devastating. It's kind of refreshing now to see a group of clinicians who are really talking about cancer and the future and what more we can do, because otherwise we've been just inundated with the other C, which is COVID. Having said that, it just goes back to our chairman's vision. Dr. Reddy's, my father, came back from the US to start what was then called, they call him the architect of healthcare in India, because at that time, the standards of healthcare were not what it is today. And having said that, I think, thanks to him, there's some fantastic healthcare systems which have been established in the country. And the government has also changed the rules of the game, and they're doing a phenomenal job in the public health systems. And so that there's been a sea change in what's happened in India. And as we always tell each other, we are in the business of caring, and it's the caring which comes first, and the business, it follows, because we are a for-profit entity, and we have responsibilities towards our shareholders. But at that point, when chairman spoke to the board and said that when we work with cancer care, we need to do something which is really dramatically different, which then raises the bar on what is being done in the area of cancer care. While the Apollo Hospitals was established in 1983, today we run about 12,000 beds. It has become a healthcare ecosystem. So there are hospitals, pharmacies, primary healthcare centers in the remote villages, remote health, telemedicine, and multiple other factors of how we deliver healthcare. And at the core of it is that, as an organization, it's still patient-centric, and we try and do whatever we can to reach out to our public, to our patients. The cancer journey started about 20 years ago, and we're in 14 centers, 14 cancer care centers spread across India. But the Proton Center is in the city of Chennai, where we actually started, the first cancer hospital and the first Apollo hospital. And it is in a beautiful location. It's a lovely building. And I do invite all of you to come and take a look. What is nice is that, while I didn't really put a picture of the interiors, it's got beautiful people and beautiful art, which was really donated by multiple well-wishers of the entity. The center, of course, is 150 beds, advanced in the way it does. It's totally integrated. It does the kind of work which each one of you are doing so well and so brilliantly in your systems, multidisciplinary teams. It's got the pencil beam. It of course does more than children. While there is one room which is largely dedicated to treatment of children, one gantry, we do a lot of head and neck, lung, GI cancers, and of late, even breast cancer. So I think it's, it covers adult and pediatric cancer. Little bit on the cancer journey. In 2015, so it's been an interesting journey, and as you saw in the last slide, everything needs divine blessings and the hand of God. And as a family, we're very spiritual, and every patient who comes in, whichever religion they belong to, there's a little prayer which is said by the whole team before we even start on the treatment. So there were multiple prayers, multiple pujas, because the challenges were huge. While I haven't listed it out, I would really like to acknowledge that the board, to get board approval actually took us almost a year. Because when chairman went and presented the cost and his vision and dream to the board, they said, we're not such a large healthcare company, and this is not being funded by anybody giving you grants. This is, you really have to go to the bank. Are you sure, Dr. Reddy? And then Dr. Reddy had to convince the board to say that this is really going to make a difference in the way the cancer outcomes are and in the way people are going to be treated. So finally, the board approval came, which itself was a great milestone. And I'm so grateful to our board members for approving it. Having said that, the technology was so new. The word proton was in people's minds, it was something very close to the atomic bomb, and nobody knew beyond that. And they said, what are you people trying to do? So we visited many centers and multiple hosts, and I really want to thank MD Anderson and the Miami Cancer Center. They spend so much time. Dr. Minish Mehta at that time was actually at Maryland, at Baltimore, and he spent 2 days telling us and explaining to us what we were going in for. And then getting the approvals was a challenge, but again, the government needed time to understand what it all was about. So that was a challenge, but we had to overcome. A construction company in India who had never done anything like this, conceptualized, built those bunkers, brought the cyclotron in, but it was Larsen and Toubro, and they were great partners. They were with us 24/7. We spent a lot of time at site. And of course, the sites in India, again, the choice is a bit hard. And sometimes when it rains, it floods. So we went through 2 floods at that time and realized that, we really have to figure that out, which then again they did. They were very differently done drainage systems to see that it never happens again. The supply of electricity was a big problem. Things which in developed countries people take for granted, for us was a challenge because we really didn't understand the requirements, but we did that. And then the physicists, of course, were brilliant. And there were some outstanding centers in the US who took them on, with open arms to train them and our clinicians. And we're so grateful to all of them for that. India, again, as you know, it's a large country, large population, but the costs, the cost of care is still very hard on our patients and on our people. So when it was the price and the cost was an issue, and I think just creating the awareness on the outcomes and the value proton therapy brings both to the doctor community and to the patients was a huge challenge, but I think we're working on it. I wouldn't say that we've overcome it, but I think that again is a challenge which we're facing still and we're working towards overcoming. Again, the expansion plans, if not during COVID, we've treated about 350 patients, but we know that we'll be able to do much more. And as far as cancer care goes, we love saying that it is the jewel for the nation, because a lot of 10% of our work is still treated free. So for the nation and for the country, I think it is a jewel. But having said that, there are two more, and as we speak, two more coming up in the country, and we are hoping to do one more in the north of India. So I think very strong expansion plans, but something which we really would like to do. Again, the cost of treatment, as I said, today is a big challenge. And while the chairman, his vision is that, we really have to provide proton therapy for those who care. We've also very innovatively got into crowdfunding, and we've been able to raise funding for over 20 children who needed proton therapy at this point. And so the crowdfunding platform has really caught on as an ideology in the country, because people are really wanting to contribute. And we've just started our pediatric children's cancer fund, which again will help us fund a lot of children who need cancer, because the numbers are large within the country. The pediatric cancer and the head and neck cancer, to me, is the largest number, and finding ways and means to fund that. Just recently, we had a breakthrough where insurance also recognized that proton therapy can be part of an insurance plan. So they have also funded at this point about 15 patients, and we are hoping that that will continue, and that will then be a stream of funding. Otherwise, that used to be something which we were all very worried about. Having said that, we had a very strong relationship with all the clinicians of PTCOG, and I really want to thank everybody for that, because if not, for the support, for everyone being just so forthcoming every time our clinicians had questions, issues, I don't think we would have got where we are today. And I would love to have the honor of really hosting PTCOG again whenever you all would like to come to India. And as always, not being a doctor clinician, I can always request all the clinicians on this platform that in the area of research, I feel there is so much more we can do. And if we can be part of any of your clinical studies, any of your research programs, it would be an honor for us to be part of that. And, we would welcome you with open arms. And for that, I think it's an open invitation. The other request, and, where I would love to find answers, is that how do we future-proof ourselves? Honestly, right now, we are in a firefighting mode. We're trying to see, let's fund patients and try and treat patients with great outcomes as much as we can. So I think all the focus has been there. But how can we future-proof so that this does become a standard of care? People will be able to afford it. And whatever lessons are learned by, choices of whether software or the machine and the machine giving trouble, all that is a repository of knowledge. There were about 40 when we started. There are over 100 globally. So can we have a central repository of knowledge for those who are going forward and doing this. So these were just some thoughts for the future. And it's all about collaboration. And that's why, even being able to spend a few minutes on a platform like this is a huge learning for people like us. So thank you so much for the invitation. It is truly an honor. And at any time, if there is anything we can do from this part of the world, we would be delighted to host, interact, and be part of this very elite and august audience. So thank you for the invitation. And Jay, I'm open to any questions if the audience has. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy, for sharing that experience with us. And I think PTCOG is in fact a repository of information and help, and we just have to make that help more available to everybody. So I have two questions. One question is, I have to get a copy of that picture you showed at the end. So can you please
Yes,
send?
of course, of course.
And the second question is, you and your teams visited MD Anderson and other places. Did you feel like that was enough to get you started? Did you find that when you started to treat patients, you wish you had had other experiences or training?
So I think, I must thank IBA. They're our technology. We invested with IBA, and they facilitated a lot of training. There's still virtual calls which continue between the physicists and the physics team and the clinicians and the clinic team. So I think the learning is never enough, and the interactions always continue. But I think the visit was more for me to realize the magnitude of the project. I mean, I did not imagine that the cyclotron or, just the whole machine behind that proton in front would be 3 floors or 3 stories. I did not envisage the fact that the bunker had to be so many meters deep and thick and the concrete walls. So I think there was a lot of learning for me personally, and the teams continue to work together and learn.
I see. Very good. Thank you again. Again, if you have questions in the listeners, please ask them on Slido, and we can make sure that the speakers get those questions and maybe be able to respond to you. So we've heard experiences about the development of centers from two completely different cultures. And one common denominator in those are the vendors who supported and helped the clients to develop and install and construct those facilities. And we have the exhibition here. We have always had the exhibitions. And I want to restate again that these exhibitions are not a place behind some door at PTCOG where you go shopping. And I don't think we have in the past maybe given them enough status within the context of all of PTCOG. So I want to spend a little bit of time to try to give you some sense of where they fit in the context of our field. So this is entitled PTCOG and the Sponsor Exhibition, because it really is a joint exhibition. So what does a vendor do? A vendor plays a significant role in many activities associated with the development of the particle facility. Sometimes with the help of others, sometimes it introduces you to other people who can help with you. But the vendor wants to maintain a relationship with their clients for future activities to support the vendor's operations and to support the client's capabilities. So if you look at the tasks of a PT center, which we just heard about from Abram and Preetha, there are a range of tasks from the conceptual design, financing, regulatory, installation, commissioning, operation, and maintenance. All of these things are part of the role of the vendor. It's a major undertaking, and sometimes maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's not talked about enough. So that's sort of one context. Another context is PTCOG. And there is, in some sense, a synergy between the sponsors and PTCOG. It's the mission of PTCOG to promote science, technology, and the practical clinical application of particle therapy. And it's a mission of PTCOG to ensure that it's the highest possible standard in radiation therapy. What are the missions of vendors at PTCOG? They show their products. We all know that. They educate clients and hope to encourage sales. Let's just be practical about that. But what is it that encourages sales of proton therapy? It is to promote the use of particle therapy. So that is compared with one of the missions of PTCOG, to promote the application of particle therapy. And they certainly want to make better products, which means listening to customers and getting the highest possible standards, which is another one of the missions of PTCOG. There's more synergy. PTCOG actually provides tangible contributions to particle therapy. To serve and accomplish its objectives, PTCOG encourages improved and continuing education. It promotes global activities. It supports the organization of dedicated international conferences, scientific meetings, and educational sessions. We have workshops, educational outreaches. We have subcommittees that publish white papers, consensus guidelines, and publications. Many actual publications have come out of our PTCOG subcommittees in the last several years. And PTCOG provides funding for research studies. What do sponsors do? They fund workshops, and they want to learn more about particle therapy to enhance their products. So they have user groups, and the user groups actually have workshops together. They also fund some research. So in some sense, there's even potentially more than a synergy between the sponsors and the PTCOG. It could be that they could be more tightly coupled, and these have been discussed in the past. But we have a clear mission, and we should not separate, in some sense, aspects of the sponsors from PTCOG and what that mission is, except that our mission from PTCOG is altruistic. I think that from the point of view of funding in PTCOG, look at some of the examples. We began in 2018. We have already funded more than on the order of 4 projects, and with really good results. And in fact, the announcements for applications to projects in 2021 will be distributed soon. So take this as notice that you will soon see the applications on the PTCOG website, and you're invited to submit proposals to have funding for projects. It's also the case that we have established awards in order to support the mission of the highest standards. So we have the Michael Goitein Best Abstracts Awards in Physics, Biology, and Clinics. We have a Young Investigator Awards, and we also began giving out those awards in 2017. So this really supports our idea of encouraging young people and encouraging the scientists in our field to develop the highest standards and the highest academic and practical capabilities. And in fact, if you come to the closing ceremonies on Monday, you'll learn who are the PTCOG59 2020 winners for these PTCOG awards. PTCOG has expenses. We do have a travel fellowship program, which has been supported by, in which we support young scientists to travel to the PTCOG conferences. And we certainly hope that next year we'll be able to support people traveling to Miami for the next PTCOG 60. And the sponsors have been, and they are continue to be invited to continue sponsoring our travel fellowship program. And now, and actually starting with the help of Abram Gordon in Cincinnati, PTCOG has full financial responsibility for the meeting organization. After Cincinnati, it actually sort of begun online by de facto, because it was an online conference in 2020, PTCOG59 online, and the first physical meeting of the full financial responsibility comes in 2022 in Miami. And sponsors are an important part of funding these meetings. So let's not be shy about the fact that we have expenses and we have to support what we do. And we've had meetings since 1985. Can you believe it? We are already in our 36th year of meetings all over the world. And more advertisement, come to the closing ceremonies on Monday to find out who will be the host of the PTCOG62 in Asia. So PTCOG has, in some sense, we have assets. We have an organizational structure in some sort of loose sense. And what we have is 4,500 members, which feed all of our elements of the organization. These are growing at about an incredible 100 a month. PTCOG has a steering committee with 81 members from 23 countries. There are 103 facilities in clinical operation now, and we have about 15 subcommittees and working groups with a dozen plus publications that have really helped identify what's happening in the field. And here's an example of where these 103 facilities are. And I think it's time to start expanding outside of the northern temperate zone. We have registrations to these conferences, and here's the red bars are the totals. Each year, the smaller bars are the totals in Europe, North America, and Asia. And of course, the maximum of each of these totals changes depending upon which region in the world we are meeting. But you can see that on the whole, our registrations keep rising. The registration count for this meeting was over 1,100 already, and these meetings keep growing. We have really a robust program of scientific presentation. We have had 430 abstracts. They are distributed among Europe, North America, and Asia in physics and clinics and biology. And biology keeps growing. If you look down here, and this particular year, there's a very large amount of abstracts that came from Europe, but I think that fluctuates. It's always Europe, Asia, and North America, which is in fact where we have the meetings. So it's really, really satisfying that we have such strong growth in our science. Our sponsors are multivariate. They come from all over. And here are some of the sponsors for this PTCOG59. And I don't want to single anyone out, but I do want to remind you that you should be sure to go to CRC Press and sign up for the raffle so you can win vouchers for books from CRC. You have to go to the booth and sign up if you want to be able to be eligible for this raffle. And while you're at it, visit all the other sponsors. So these sponsors actually have many different categories. There are particle therapy systems, dosimetry, shielding, treatment planning, instrumentation, software and controls, positioning, financing, lighting, publications, journals, and books. So go to the exhibition. You may learn something you didn't know you needed. And finally, I just want to officially say that the exhibition in PTCOG59 is officially opened. So make your way to the sponsors, say hello, sign up for the raffle. And one more time, I want to see you at the entertainment. At the end of the session, please come and meet me at the bar or the Japanese garden. And enjoy the rest of your day.